Hey, how's it going? This is Andre, following up on my video from a few days ago where I was showing a handful of patches in the grid. So I want to go into more detail and build this one from the ground up. This is this glitch stutter effect. I'll let you hear what it sounds like. There's an amen break playing on this track. If you saw the last video, I had two patches that look kind of like this. One was a sequence sampler, and then there was this effect unit. This one's quite a bit simpler, so I figured I'd start out with this patch. So the main thing I'm going to focus on is just how to set up these retriggers. The effects are pretty easy to set up once you have the sequencers going. Let me give you a rundown of the patch before we open up a blank effects grid. And I want to show you the whole signal path and everything. But first, let me show you just how this works. So these sequencers up here are assigned to the record in on the recorder. And then these sequencers over here basically select between any one of these options for repeats. And these repeats, you can do it either with these sequencers, or at first I had it set up with triggers with this device over here. But I found that it sounded a little bit sloppier with the triggers, and it seemed to be just more precise using the sequencers, so I ended up switching it out. And then the other thing that this sequencer is doing is it also triggers a selector. So if you go just a little bit above the bottom, it switches what you're hearing to the recorder. So if it's down here, you don't hear the recorders at all. You're just hearing a straight input. And then the reason I have these on separate sequencers, because you could just do it on one sequencer, but the reason I have these on separate ones is that I wanted to have control of what part of the audio is triggering the repeats. So like you can hear if we just have straight repeats over here, you'll hear two of each of these. But if we wanted to just hear this one, we could turn these off. And then we could also change these. So if we wanted to have, faster ones, we could also do that. So it probably would just sound straight like this. But if we go up here, you'll hear if we speed this up, you'll hear it's sounding a little different. Okay. And so what else do we have? We have a global time over here. If you see basically the signal path. So here's the transport. At first, I had actually done this with a note that was triggering it, but then I found that it didn't work well because it would start from the beginning at every point. And, I wanted it to be able to follow where I'm at on the transport. So like this one should follow where we're at. If I put this over here. So if we start on bar 2, yeah, it starts there. So that's what it should be doing. If we start on bar 3, it should start down here. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted that so I can, focus on a specific section. And then, yeah, this stuff, we don't need to worry about this right now. This is just deals with direction, gives you the option of doing forward, reverse pendulum, or random. But basically, this right here is changes the global time. So if you're doing halftime, double time, whatever, you can change it there. And then this is kind of the same thing, except for this is for the retrigger time. So you have kind of a global control for those. And then this whole thing here, it might look a little bit complicated, but I'm basically just copying what the merge and split modules do. At first, I had tried to do that with the merge and split, and what these are actually controlling is all these are doing is sequencing these sequencers to have it go this one into this one into this one. And you might think that this looks a little weird, and I should have just used a merge and split, but I just couldn't get it working cleanly. Every time I did it with merge and split, for some reason the notes weren't hitting perfectly, and I was having a hard time figuring it out. So I just decided to set this up to have it precisely where I want it on the time. And yeah, speaking of time, I should probably get into this. So in the grid, time is thought of as phase, and it's the same way as you think of a phase in terms of a waveform. So it's kind of interesting. They have like all these phase modifiers that can affect, the phase of a waveform, but they can also affect the phase of the timing. And so all of these over here on this sequencer are basically a section of the phase. So what this sequencer is basically doing is it's saying that if the phase is greater than here and less than here, then it just opens up this selector and allows this phase, which is a lot faster because these sequencers need to be 8 times faster than the main phase. So basically just opens it up and allows the phase to go into each one of these sequencers. And then this whole section you don't really need to worry about. I'm just going to do this one for now, a 16 step. I know I wrote 32 bar, but I meant 32 step. This is just a switcher. So if you noticed how it would play from this sequencer down to that one, if I just turn off this 32 step button, it'll only play one of the sequencers. And that's actually different for each one of these. I like to have different options for each one of the sequencers. So I have different direction and timing options for each one of the sequencers. So that way I can get kind of longer patterns that are less predictable. So anyway, yeah, let's just open up a new effects grid and build this thing. Actually, before I do that, let me show you. I had one other method of doing this that I ended up not using, but it could be a fun one for somebody to expand upon. So this one, I was experimenting with being able to rearrange the patterns of the beats with a sequencer, just like how I had it on my sampler. And it's a little bit weird because you can't really rearrange a step before it's been recorded, because the way this is working is I have a whole bunch of different record devices that are recording like one after the other, so that you can rearrange it. But the way I have it working is the first time it plays around, it records it into the buffer, and then after that, the sequencers start working. So you can kind of hear what that does. Oh, do I have both of these playing? Yeah, I do. Anyway, yeah, you see what that does. So this is another kind of fun way to do it, but it seemed a little bit roundabout having to first record the loop in to get it into the buffer. So I decided to just drop that feature because it also makes the CPU go up high, and I figured if you're going to go through all that work, it's easier to just bounce the audio as a loop and throw it into the sampler because it's a bit more controlled that way. So I'm just going to copy this amen down, and we can load on an effects grid. So to start with, let's just get these sequencers working before we even start with the repeats. So if you go to LFO, there's a transport option. We can decide on any different timing we want. I'm going to, after this, set up global timing control, so it doesn't even really matter what the number is here. And then one thing I like to do, well, here first let me just show you what this looks like going into a sequencer. Let's put this on 16. You got to turn this off. That's the pre-chord, because we're going to have different options going into here. So one thing you'll see is this just plays automatically, and you can turn off the transport, do free run when stopped. But what I like to do is take a select, run this into here, run the select into here, and then get a transport playing and assign that to here. And the whole point of that yeah, we don't really need to be hearing this yet, but the whole point of that is that I like the sequencers to snap back to 0 when they're done playing, because I've had a bunch of issues with the grid where often the first step kind of misses and doesn't play right, and it seems like it gets stuck on the last, like the phase of the last note that's been hit. So I like to just have it this way when the sequencer's not playing, and I do the same thing on the samplers. I'll have a just a logic that's set up that says that when the gate is set to 0, it turns them off. So that way it seems like it's more precise for the beginning hit. So anyway, let's first start by making a timing control for the just global time. So we can take a couple scalars, and let's just set one of them to 2/1, one of them to 1/2, and then we can take a merge and a split. Set these to 3. And then we want both of them on nearest. And we can run these into here. This one just going to go in here because that's going to be default. And then we can get a value and call this one global time. Now let me take off cap locks. Global time. And we can assign that to here. And then run this into here, that into there. All right, cool, it's working. So next, let's run this into the retrigger sequencer. And I haven't even thrown the recorders in yet because I just want to get everything else set up first. So let's first let's get a scaler for that too, because that's going to need to be a bit faster. And I also like to have a control, as you saw in the last one, for the repeat times. So let's do the same thing as we did over here. And you know what I'm going to do, just so everyone knows what's going on? I'll put some labels on here. Let's do this as, let's say, maybe 8/1, 16/1, and 32/1. Same thing, merge and split. 3. And then we can take another value and call this one repeat time. And just let's bring these over towards the sequencers. And now the phase or time from here should run into here. So then this will feed the whole retrigger setup. So to do that, let's get another split and merge. Let's give this one 8 inputs. This one 8. Set them both to nearest. Let me make sure I did that on these. No, I didn't. Okay, cool. They're all set up. And so, like I was mentioning before, you can do this either with trigs or with sequencers. I mean, there's probably many other ways to do this too. Like, this is just the way I've been figuring out how to do it. You know, I'm still pretty new to all this stuff. I'm kind of learning as I go. So there's probably all sorts of other ways to do this stuff. But let's go down to gates. Put this one at 2. Turn this off. Let's copy this Actually, let's just copy all of them. Let me just see. I had a picture of how I had it earlier because I'm trying to remember how I had these set up. Yeah, the 1/2. I made this patch about a month ago, so everything's not totally fresh in my mind. Okay, yeah, I just had this to slow this one down. So we just got to wire these up. And then this one will be 4. This one will be 8. This one will be 16. This one is 32. I can't see this very well. Let me just extend it out. This one will be 64. And, this is for really, really, really fast triggers. A lot of people might not want it this fast. I just like having the option to go this fast. And then before this one, let's put a scalar going this way. So that's basically going to make it be like 128. So then we just wire these up. And then, so this is going to be controlled by a sequencer. So for now, let's just set this up. Bring this over here. Set this up at 16 and then run this out of the same phase. And then this is going to control these. And then so how do we have this going? So then this is going to go into here. And then now let's just set up the recorders. And hopefully this is all making sense. So we need 2 recorders because like I was saying, they're mono. So then we can get a stereo split and a stereo merge. Let's run the audio. Let's also get a select. And then let's run left into here, right into here, this one into left, this one into right. Run this from the audio. This is going to go into this input. The main audio is going to go into that input. And the reason that is if you remember, I was saying this sequencer, on top of deciding how many repeats there are, it also selects between the main input and this input. And the way we do that is, let's just say, let's go to Logic Modules. And let's say if it's over like maybe 0.1, so grab a constant. So if this is over 0.1, it'll trigger the select. And let's make sure that that works. Okay, yeah, that part works. And so now for the recorders, we're gonna make 8 of these later, but just for now, to make sure that this basic setup works, let's run this one into the recorders. And then let's run this one into the playheads. And hopefully this will work. But it's not working. Oh, that's because I don't have this wired up. Okay, that sort of works, but the timing sounds off. What do I have this on? Let me try raising the repeat time. So that doesn't sound right either. Let's bring it over here. Oh, you know, I messed this up earlier. This should be 16 over here and 32. Okay, so now that should work. That's too fast, so now let's bring this over here. So if it seems like, yeah, if it's down here, it's basically straight. And then once you bring it up higher, you get, it doubles, and then you can bring it up higher. Let's extend this out. So that basically works. You know, one thing I forgot to mention too, instead of a select, let's use a split. I mean a merge, because that way we can, I think, prevent pops and clicks from happening. If we bring this over here, this one over here, and then this was being controlled by this, and then what did we have running? That was going into the main output. We can just delete this. The whole reason I'm doing that is that now if we want to, we could add a, we could put this on linear and add like a lag. I'm not sure if that's going to help or not, but I think for some samples, if they're making pops and clicks, it might prevent it from sounding bad. That seems okay right now, but all these things can be tweaked later on. So that's the basic beginning of this repeater. I know this stuff's all a little bit messy, so let me just bring this out here. And then let's now build the whole setup so that we can change this from being like this to being 8 of those smaller ones. And if you remember, the reason why I was doing that, I mean, this definitely works, but if you wanted to say increase this to 32 steps or whatever, and you wanted to have more control and have the stutters, you know, selecting new pieces of the buffer. So like if I have, 4 repeats right here, it's just going to repeat this step 4 times. But if I want it to, repeat twice one and twice the other, then I would need greater subdivisions in each one of the sequencers. So, yeah, let me show you how that whole setup was done. Let me just see. I think I had it. So, the first thing is the main way that would have probably made sense to do this would have been with a merge and split module, just like letting the phase run into it and then splitting it up between the 8 sequencers. But again, like I was saying before, it sounded sloppy to me, and it was just tricky. I couldn't get it to work right, so I decided to set up this kind of sequencer with logic. So let's just do that now. So let's go to data. Let's get this gate, and let's set it. Yeah, let's keep it at 8 right now. I'll bring most of them probably down to 2 later, but I want it at 8 just so I can see that everything is happening cleanly, because there's just greater definition. So let's repeat this. And then for building the sequencer, let me bring the main phase over here just so we can see it a little better. So the way I did it, if you remember, I had some shift modules that were where's the phase? Shift that were basically set to different parts of the phase so that it would decide when it goes in. So the way I did that was just subdivide 100 by 8, and so that's 12.5. So we just got to set up these numbers. So the first one will be 0. The second one will be 12.5. Third one will be 25. The fourth one will be, I think, 37.5. Fifth one will be 50. Sixth one will be 62.5. This one will be 75. And then the last one should be, 87.5. Okay. So then these are going to go into, so we got to set all this stuff up. So the first thing, let's grab these from the logic section. We're going to need 8 of them. And then we're going to get, which one should we do? This one over here. Need 8 of those. And then we're going to need to get the and. And then select. And hopefully I'll get this right on the first try. It took me a bit of tinkering to figure this all out, but yeah, hopefully this will work. So each one of these is going to go into the top input. And then we're going to get the phase and run that into the bottom input. And then, how are we doing this? And then, okay, then yeah, the top one should run from the phase here. And then for each one of these, we're going to select the one that was below it. And for this last one, let's just get another shift and put it all the way up and run that over here. And then how are we going to do this? So I think this one should go to the top of the and. This one will go to the bottom. Oops. Wait a second. Yeah, the first one should go to the top. I don't actually even know if it matters. Yeah, it's taking me a second to remember all this stuff. Like I said, I did this patch about a month ago, so it's not all totally fresh in my head. All right. All right, so now these should go into the selects. And then what we're going to want to do is get another scalar. And let's make it 8/1 because we're subdividing this thing. And then let's run this into the lower ones on the selector. And let me just see if these are moving in order. All right, that should be good. So let's just wire these up to these. Okay. Okay, cool. Those look like they're running correctly. And then I'm trying to remember, how did I wire these back up? I think I did just use a merge module. I can't really remember though. Let me go back into the patch for a second. And just see how I had that set up. So I had these running into these merge modules. There's two of them because that whole 32 step switch thing. And then is that just simply set up over to the right into the recorders? Yep. Okay, that's just set up right into the recorders. Okay, cool. And then what's triggering the merge? The merge should be triggered by the phase. So it's weird why the merge works, but again, this maybe you can get the split working right, but when I did it before, it was just jumping around. Because yeah, this does seem like a little bit of a roundabout way to do this, but when I did it before, sometimes like these steps were moving in weird jerky ways, and I have no idea why that was. Also, I was doing this on the Bitwig 3.3 beta, so there might have been issues there. I don't really know, but either way, now you see how to make this kind of thing. Okay, cool. That's working. So let's run these into here. Oh, whoops. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just running each one of these into the inputs on the merge. Did I miss one of them? Oh no, here. So now we should be able to just bring this whole setup down to here. And then we don't really need this anymore. So we can just delete that. And we can now run the output of here into the two record sections on the record module. Can I see it? What's running into it now? That's so weird. Oh, it's probably because I just deleted that. The phase is running into it. That's okay. So let's just run this into... It's so small I can't see it. All right. Into record here, and then record there. Bring this back out. And let's move it up here so we don't see it. The wires get a bit annoying. All right, that's better. Oops, are these the first two? Yeah. So let's just extend this out. And then we can bring these two knobs back over here. And let's bring these down to more normal numbers. So like, let's say 2, 4, but let's try it on some of them at maybe, all right, let's bring this one to 2. Do this one to 2. This one, we could say maybe 4. This is just random just to test it all out. This one we can say 2, but maybe keep it for a bit so that we can repeat that step out here. And then let's go back to 2, 4, and let's just see if all this works. And, I think that lag module is not good. It seems like it's maybe, I don't know if we really need it. Let me just put this back on nearest and see if we get pops and clicks without it. Yeah, I think I like that better. There's no pops and clicks, but if you do get the pops and clicks, you could experiment with doing the lag module and putting that merge on linear and see if you get a better crossfade. But I feel like with these really fast stutters, it kind of makes them a little quieter. Anyway, so that all works. So that's basically the setup for the repeater. Um, yeah, I'm not going to get into how to. If you want to do like a 32 step one, of course you could just change the amount of steps on here, but when you get to that many steps, I kind of like splitting it between two so you can kind of see where you're at easier. So the way I do that is just simply take the phase and then run it into a scaler that's running half time, and then you can just have a logic module that says if the phase is greater than 0.5, and then run that to a selector, so you can basically switch the phases in between the first sequencer and the second sequencer, and then have a selector after the two sequencers that's being controlled by the same logic that's saying that if the phase is above 0.5, switch over to these other sequencers. So it's pretty simple to set all that up. And then for the effects, you can just set up sequencers and play with all that. But this is the main setup for doing the repeater. And if anybody has any suggestions on better ways of doing this, please let me know. Like I said, I'm just kind of learning all this stuff. I'm still pretty new to the grid, so just experimenting with it a bunch. But hopefully people have fun with this. Thanks for watching. Bye.